my first memory of Scott Biram, I was living in the woods with hippies. I got out of high school, didn't know what I was going to do, didn't know I didn't want to go to college, and I met some hippies.
Welcome to Achieving Failure, a podcast that gives you a break from politics, popular trends, and brings you good old-fashioned life stories that made us who we are today. Sit back and relax with your host, Chris, as he brings you another exciting adventure on how to achieve failure.
So this episode of Achieving Failure is a very special, near and dear one to me because I have my brother from another mother, Joesph Ski Lamar, joining us all the way from outside of Houston, Texas, Cypress, Texas. And this is kind of one of those long time coming kind of things, because he and I talked about doing a podcast forever. So to kind of make him feel a little bit better and in the mood, I got my cowboy hat on, which isn't going to last too long because I can't hear shit. And I got my Scott H. Biram, which that's one of his more memorable artists, and we're gonna get into that. But Lamar, what have you been up to? I know you've been dabbling a little bit of songwriting, something like that.
Rear bait. What's up, Chris? No, man, I mean, personal life is doing pretty good. Obviously we're all recovering, and thank God we never did go to the quote unquote new normal. We're back in the real world. People are starting to act correct again. So things are starting to ramp back up. Yes, sir. I did have the band moving, or we as a team anyway, we had the band moving in the right direction. COVID, things broke down. Families were lost, in the rubble. And, people went to new relationships. So we actually are just now getting back up and running, trying to gig anywhere and however we can. That's just me on a personal stance. As far as, hobbies and everything. How have you been? It's been quite a minute since we spoke.
So real quick, your band, what's the name of your band?
Oh, you just turned it right back around on me, dude. It's my Joesph Lamar and the Regulators. Now, if you hear this podcast and you ever get to hear us play, I'll give you a hint. We've all seen Young Guns, especially Young Guns 2. And when Emilio Estevez yells, "Regulators," and everybody goes, "Do you know, Chris?"
I don't know. I've never seen it.
God damn it. Everybody goes, "Mount up." Right? And so it's a big deal as far as like Billy the Kid, the Regulators. And a little band trivia is, if you show up to one of our shows, I will at some point go, "Regulators," and anybody in the crowd who yells "Mount up," the band buys you a beer.
Nice. Well, I'll make sure to any information that you have, if you guys are going to be playing anywhere, I'll definitely plug it. I'll plug it on the somewhere on this podcast.
Last time we spoke, outside of the 10 minutes before we started recording, just to get everything lined up, you had talked to me like, "Yeah, man, maybe I'll come to Texas." And then like 3 years before that was the last time. Well, we probably talk once, twice a year, to be honest. We are old friends, and we do catch up probably twice a year for about an hour each, which is more than most people could say of extended family. But the reoccurring theme in the last 6 years is every time I talk to you, "Yeah, man, I'm coming to Texas."
I don't know. I don't know. I'll see where life takes me. Maybe I'll just pick up and move one day because I'm bored.
To quote Dumb and Dumber, if you come down here, you're gonna know somebody who can plug you into the social pipeline where the beer flows like wine and the women dance to the sound of Capistrano.
Yeah, well, tell you what, my dating life out here sucks. So maybe go to Texas for a couple. Maybe I'll just come visit for a couple days. Maybe things will be a little bit better.
You have dated and lived in exclusively woke areas, so I would imagine it's hard to find a a person that you could have a long-term relationship with. I'll put it too lightly.
Yeah. But to start this off, since we were kind of talking about Scott Biram, you got the picture of him in the back there, and I know you've been a longtime fan of his work. One of the stories that I still laugh about, and I was laughing like hell thinking about it, just writing down my notes, is remember back in San Diego. Back in San Diego, there was a little hole-in-the-wall dive bar called Casbah. And Lamar knew Scott H. Biram, and we got to actually see him perform. He was playing with a couple other people, but he was kind of like the headliner, so we got super excited. Lamar got to kind of reunite with Scott, and I got to ask him, because at that particular time I was running around with a camera. I was like, hey, Scott, is it cool if I like record your session? He goes, yeah, man. Yeah, that'd be super cool. Thank you. So it was you, me, I think Billy was there, and Jay. And before I get into all this fun stuff, how do you know Scott? Because you've known Scott for a long time.
So I'll bring up something. It's gonna loop back around. Scott has literally, if you've heard of the clinical condition of like photographic memory.
Yeah.
Every single frame of this guy's life, he has it documented in his head. And I didn't learn that until probably about 3 or 4 years ago. I was meeting with one of his roadies, and he went over this with me. And it's funny that my first memory of Scott Biram, I was living in the woods with hippies. I got out of high school, didn't know what I was going to do, knew I didn't want to go to college, and I met some hippies. Man, I remember this hippie I was living with introduced me to this Scott guy, and I was raised on Hank Williams Senior, like old school, like 30s, 40s, 50s country. And then when I broke out in puberty, I got into Nirvana, and it was like grunge music. And when he showed me this album, it was like it was everything I ever needed to hear. I didn't even know I was an artist at the time, but this kind of it deeply influenced me. It was old bluesy country infused with just bluesy rock and roll ZZ Top kind of stuff. And so I was in on the disc. And what's funny trivia is I listened to this guy for about a year, thought it was a black guy. And then I was like, they're like, he's playing at this show. So I went, but I was under 21. And I was with about 4 other guys that couldn't get in. The word is that Scott heard he had a couple people wanted to hear him play, but were underage. He came out on the corner, and he tuned his guitar and then played like just a couple of jams for me and like 3 other kids under 21. And I was blown away that it was a white guy. but it's one dude. He plays stomp. He does lead guitar, strumming, everything. It sounds like a full band, and it's just one guy doing it. Blew me away. Definitely had a lot of influence on me. It's been, I don't know, 15 years or whatever. I've seen this guy tons of times. He waves at me on. I'm just that groupie chick that wants to fuck him kind of thing. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, but I'm old enough to like not be shocked. Like I did have that. You know what I mean? Like you get nervous in front of
intimidating, I guess you could say.
I did that years ago, and we still laugh. We laugh about it when he sees me. But the funny thing is I know the first time I saw him, twice after a show in the last couple of years, I've been like, dude, are you serious? You don't remember that? And he's like, man, that never happened. The guy has a clinically diagnosed, like, he could be 3 times blackout drunk where you and I would not remember anything. He remembers everything. I know that's how I met him. And he's like, nope, didn't happen. So anyway, yeah, man, that was a lot of fun for you and me and Kyle and all the other guys. We all kind of got into that rockabilly shit in the Navy.
And that's why I kind of wanted to do the backstory, because of how you know him, because going back to the concert, when
That Casper one, yeah.
When Lamar saw Scott, it was just like, hey man, it was like brothers reuniting again. And so they let me do the set, and like how Joe was saying, he does he's a one-man band. He's up there, I'm with the camera, and I had the old Sony Handycam or whatever, the old 8mm.
I remember that.
I'm trying to get really cool angles. I'm walking around the set. Everybody's cheering. He's up there drinking Jameson, having a good old time. And I swap out with Jay because Jay wanted to also record. I said, okay, sure, whatever. I'm going to go get a beer and I hung out in the back by the bar, and I'm watching Jay. Jay's up there doing his thing, getting different angles and blah, blah, blah. And he walks behind Scott. And all of a sudden, you just see Jay kind of trip and boom.
Can't eat shit.
Everything goes out. His entire set immediately gets cut. And Jay tripped over the only cord that powered everything. And Scott was mid-song. He took and threw his guitar and said, "God damn motherfucker, what the?" And I'm sitting there going, ooh boy, I am
getting fucked up now.
I'm glad that wasn't me, because oh boy, I'm about to watch this guy get punched in the mouth. So that that was one of the craziest things. I've never seen an entire set just go out like that. And oh my God, I mean, they were able to kind of get everything resolved and he went back to playing, but oh man, that guy was fuming.
Scott makes a point to, because he's really good at like talking to the crowd in between songs, you know, and he gets them hyped up. And he's told this story several times. When he sees me in the crowd, he tells the whole crowd the story about this night. Do you remember after he got done cussing us out for kicking out the chord, he played like another song and he's like, "Man, I gotta piss." And he didn't want to. Do you remember this?
No.
Yeah. Okay. He's like, "Man, I gotta piss." And he's like, "But I don't want to go on stage." So he walked behind the amplifier. You can see him up to here. People looking at the crowd, and he's like, "All right, I'm just pissing right now." And he comes out, and he's got this ale. It looks like ale, you know, cup of clear glass, and he puts it down on the deal. He's like, "All right, let's get back to rock and roll." And he plays a song. Like 2 more songs go by, and he goes, "Oh man!" And he sat there and drank about a quarter of his piss, and went to the crowd. You remember that? He sprayed the whole crowd with piss. And he goes, "Man, I just drank my own piss." Put it back on there and kept playing. And I was like, "God dang, that's a rock star." That's all on video. You have that recording.
So that's the funny thing is I had everything recorded. I even teamed up with the sound engineer, and he gave me a copy of his copy, because obviously his copy is a lot better than mine, and I wound up editing everything together. The whole concert, spliced the concert with the actual good copy of the audio and all that stuff, because I remember you were asking, Scott was asking, everybody was asking, "Hey, when am I going to get that?" Like a year later, everybody was asking.
So he could sell it.
And I lost everything. I've lost everything. I have no copies. I don't know where anything is. I have nothing.
So it might be. That's what I was just moving around for. I have one DVD. It's not anything you could like probably pull into your media, but I do have one DVD of that recording.
Seeing that I'm in Vegas and you're in, well, way back when. Let's go way back when. Since I'm in Vegas and you're in Texas, or you're outside Houston and I'm in Vegas. Do you remember when we were living together in San Diego and you never went to Vegas? You're like, "Hey man, I'm getting out. I'm going to be moving back to Texas. I never really got to go to Vegas. I would love to go. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take you. We need to do something special though. So what we wound up doing was we went down to the Goodwill and we bought matching 3-piece suits, a hat, shoes,
all black and white,
it looked like the old you're going to the marquee or something. You're all dressed to the nine. And
we were 1945 pimping.
We hopped into my old, oh my God, what was it? A 97 Nissan Sentra. It was red, covered in faded stupid monkey sticker, something like that. The rear bumper was halfway ripped off the car because the tire exploded, which that's another story. And the AC really didn't work. And I don't remember the last time I actually did an oil change on that car because
No. Let me butt in real quick. That's a point worth mentioning. I reminded you every so often, specifically, like, hey, rear, you should probably change the oil on it. And it got to the point where after like 4 years of you being told to change the oil, you had this car. It was 97, so what is this?
Well,
like
I got it used.
Six. But still, how long did you drive it? Like 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, almost 4 years.
4 years. And after 4 years, we move in together as roommates, and I'm like, hey, dude, how long? And you're like, stop. It's been 4 years. I've never changed the oil. If I do it now, it's going to break down. You know? And you know, it's true. It's true. You know, my granddad once told me, he said, women and vehicles have a lot in common. If you start off treating it right and then you quit on it, it'll break down. But if you start out treating it like shit and you start treating it right, it'll break down. Women in cars, man. So you treated this car like such a piece of shit for 4 years. You were like, I can't even change the oil now. It'll blow up on us.
I remember because it had such a bad oil leak that I just kept refilling it with oil, and I was like, whatever.
Just fill it with oil, bro.
I was like, it's topped off now. So we hopped into this raggedy ass piece of shit, and we drove 5-7 hours to Vegas. And
from San Diego to Vegas.
Yeah, it was about 5 to 7 hours, depending on traffic and how much was going on. I don't remember exactly, but I remember it was hot. I think it was like the end of September. It was hot. The AC didn't work. We had the windows rolled down, and this car barely made it to Vegas.
No. Don't even wait. Let me back up a little bit because I do have a quick memory. I remember looking down at both of us, and we started off in 3-piece suits. Then we were just in like a vest and a shirt. Then we were just in a chest, and we turned these white undershirts yellow while we're driving through. We were on like Fear and Loathing, right?
Pretty much.
Like the stretch. Yeah, we were on like this couple 100-mile stretch desert, and I remember the only air conditioning was the windows down. And I remember we got it, like we slowed down a little bit. And then we slowed down a little bit, and I only noticed because the air was less flowing. And I looked at you, Rear, and I was like, "Dude, would you please speed back up? This air, I'm sweating balls, man." And you said, "Dude, I'd like to, but we were going 70. I let my foot off the gas. We went down to 60, but then I pushed back down, and it didn't go any faster. And I let off a little bit, and it went down to 50, and I pushed down." It didn't go any faster, so I'm pedal to the metal, and if we let off, we're going to die in the desert. And I was like, 50 miles an hour to Vegas, baby.
So on the way to Vegas, it was just one of those elaborate events of horrible decisions. On the way there, this car comes flying past us. I mean, just blowing past us. And I was like, holy shit, what was that? And come to find out, that was my sister and her friend on the way to Vegas also. And I didn't know they were going to Vegas, because like I called her once we got there, and I was like, "Hey, I could have sworn I saw somebody that looked like you." And she goes, "Well, who were you?" I said, "Well, we were in the red car." She goes, "Yeah, I saw you guys." We kind of laughed because we flew past you, and all we saw was two shirtless guys sitting in a Nissan with all the windows rolled down. I said, "Yep, that's me."
You never told me that. You never told me that.
So
that's funny. You never told me that part.
So we get to Vegas, and it's so hot.
What's your sister's name again?
Mary.
Mary. All right, there you go. Go ahead.
So we get to Vegas, and it's so hot, and we wound up meeting up. I don't even remember. I think it was like the first night. Yeah, it was like the first night. We go, and we have no money. We have no money whatsoever, which I don't understand. We had no money for a hotel room, but we had money to drink. I don't understand how that worked, but it just did. So we were no money for food, getting completely hammered during the day. And since we had no money for a hotel room, we wound up staying in the MGM Grand parking lot. Like that's where we literally slept in the car in the parking lot because we had no money for a hotel. And that night we put on our 3-piece suits and we went out, and oh man, the head turning. Everybody was like, "Yo, who are these people? These are like VIPs."
We look like Frank Sinatra's.
Like big old pimp daddies were hanging out the car windows like, "Yo, that's what's up, yo. Yo, big ballers over there." And it's just like, and they're also kind of like looking like, why are they walking down the street? Like, shouldn't they be like driving around in a Rolls Royces? Needless to know, it's just like, aha, I'm going back to my car with the windows rolled down because that's where I'm sleeping tonight.
I can tell you real quick. I can tell you this. I remember when we decided we were going to Vegas, we pulled our money, and I want to say I had like 130 and you had like 150, if I remember right. And we were like, and you were the one that was like, if we're going to Vegas, you were like, there's two ways to go to Vegas, poor and rich. We can at least experience the poor version. So we took our money. We just bought these 3-piece suits, like just piecemealed together. and at the end, we had something like $90 each, right? And on the way there, of course, we already talked about your piece of shit, maroon. It was red. I think the sun just melted it to maroon. Our drive there was fun. And then, yeah, our plan was to sleep in the truck, in the car. So we just started walking around, and our goal was to pretend like we were gambling long enough to get enough beers, and then we realized that penny slots don't pay, they don't come by that often.
Yeah.
So I remember this, you found some Chinese dungeon that was $1 beers, and we tried drinking it, and it was cat piss, bro. Do you remember that? We were like, but this is what we got.
I remember we drank a lot of like King Cobras and stuff like that. Oh my God. We were just, I don't know why. I think I found like a 30 rack of like Red Dog for like $10. So I was like, oh my God, I haven't seen this since in the 90s. It was just this god awful malt liquor. Just ugh.
In Red Dog's defense, it's not that bad. What was it? Was it the second night that you broke your hand?
No, I think that was the first night because it was so hot and I became so delirious from just.
No, that's not the story I got from you. The story I got from you is we're dressed up like pimps. You disappeared, like literally disappeared. Yeah. It's like 2:00 in the morning. I spent the next 4 hours looking for you, just all over the strip. I show back up in the truck because we don't have a hotel, and there you are passed out with your hand out the window, and it's all swelled up like an apple.
Yeah, I remember. Something happened to where I just went delusional. I broke my phone.
Is what you told me.
A what?
The next morning, I was like, "What happened?" You're like, "I saw an ex-girlfriend. I lost my temper, and I started punching street signs."
Yeah, no, I was talking to her on the phone, and I got upset. So that was the old flip phones. I snapped the flip phone in half, punched a stop sign, and gave up and like stumbled aimlessly until I was like, "Hey, there's my car," and I just completely passed out.
You broke your flip phone, so I could not get a hold of you for hours, dickhead.
And this is 2004.
No,
this is 2008. This is 2008. So, I mean, just being able to go into the store and get a new phone really wasn't that easy. That's just like, oh, well, you got to do this, you got to do. I was like, oh my, I don't even know where a Verizon phone store was. And again, this is like, you don't really have GPS, so you're just kind of like doing the old sticking your head out the window, like,
you're lost, bro.
Excuse me, stranger, where is the nearest Verizon store? And I go, yeah, you got to go down here, take your left, and blah blah. Just, oh Jesus. So, the second day, we went to the store, and I think we got a new phone. And I remember going, dude, we can't be sleeping in a car like this. This is insane. We even went to where my sister was staying. She was staying at the Harrah's, and she was staying at some like Diamond Lounge. And it was just massive room. She goes, you could stay with us. The next day, I had $10, and we went to the Luxor. And I remember watching him play roulette, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna play some roulette. And it wasn't even like good. It was like 50-50, red or black, even or odd.
Yeah, that's what it was, 50-50, red or black.
And I remember from $10, I won $80-$90. And then it was about
$95.
And then I lost 10 on the final one, and I was like, oh, that's it, I lost $10, I'm out. So I took like my $80, and it was just enough money to buy a room at, like, I don't know what it was, Motel 8, some rundown roach infested hotel. And we wound up staying there, and we were able to take a shower, and
it had air conditioning.
It had air conditioning. And we even had a little extra money for, like, I don't even remember where it was, one of those station casinos where it's like, hey, have a $5 T-bone steak. And we're like, yes, this is living now. We got a hotel room and we can eat.
You saved fast. I don't even know how we had the gas to get back to San Diego.
I don't know either. It's like, we had no money.
I don't know how we pulled that off.
After all that, I remember we met up with our friend Tasha, and it was just everything that could. I mean, it wasn't good. I'm not gonna say everything that could possibly go wrong. Is we made all of the wrong choices in the name of a good time. So when it was all said and done, we come back to San Diego, and everyone's like, how was it? And we're like, great. We had a blast. And it was only until Jay, who got hit by a car and broke his hip, we were at the VA hospital. He was getting an x-ray on his hips. And I said, hey, my hand, it's been like a week later. I was like, hey, my hand's kind of swelled up like a butterball turkey. Since we're already doing the x-rays, can I just kind of sneak my hand in there real quick? And it wound up being that I had what they call a boxer fracture, where on the pinky, wound up, I fractured the bone to where the bone was actually kind of like poking up almost through the skin. And they're like, yep, you broke your hand. I said, uh-huh. So I said, so what do we do now? And they said, well, I got to put a cast on it. So they wound up putting this cast, I guess it's kind of like soft and then it hardens up like a regular cast. He said, this is going to hurt a lot because I have to push the bone back into your hand and hold it while this cast hardens. So for a good 5 minutes, he's just laying on my hand, and I'm like, oh my God.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode. For more info, find us on Facebook and Instagram. And if you have a story you'd love to share, shoot us an email at aflvpodcast@gmail.com. That's AF, Achieving Failure, LV, Las Vegas, podcast@gmail.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you all next time.